Hi, everyone. I wanted to record myself making this updated immigrant safety plan training. Again, for training purposes, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Okay, so what I plan on covering on this training is what is the safety plan? What documents do you need to be able to make it as effective as possible? What is the goal of the safety plan? Generally, who is it for? What to do with all the documents once you have all the pleadings, and then some limitations that might come up while you are talking to community members or families. The most important part of a safety plan is generally selecting a third party. So what is a third party? So a third party is going to be someone over the age of 18 years of age that can care for the child. Um, and essentially they are standing in for the parent while the parent is absent. This person should ideally be over the age of 18, like mentioned before, preferably documented. The reason that we say that is because there's going to be information on the power of attorney and the parental intent that goes on these forms. And so we don't want to out anybody that might not have any form of legal status in the US or put them at risk of having their information out there. Um, when I say documented, that would be lawful permanent resident, a US citizen, someone with any type of lawful stay in the US. If you don't have someone that meets those thresholds, it's okay to have someone that's undocumented. Just explain to them the risks of having their information on these legal documents. Again, this person should be able to care for the child emotionally, physically, financially, and preferably be of within physical geographical location of the child, so that they can access the child, or that they can go to the school in case the parent gets picked up while the child is at school, for example. And again, this person has to be someone that the parent trusts and that is going to be willing to act on behalf of the parent during their absence. Um, so make sure that it's not someone that you just met yesterday. Truly try to have it be somebody that you trust. The content of the safety plan, and we'll go over it on this training. But generally, you're going to want the daycare and the school emergency contact information, the child immunization records, the birth certificate, social security, and passport. The two documents in orange, the intention of parents for care for the minor child and the durable power of attorney, are the forms that community members and families will fill out with LCYC staff or volunteers. And so those are the ones we're going to touch on first. So what's an intention of parents for care of minor child? So the intention of parent is essentially the document that states how does the parent want the third party to care for their child? It's going to ask them questions such as, where do you want the child to remain? Under the residential care of whom? Again, here it lists, that it should be someone with status, preferably, ideally a relative. A lot of families don't ha know anybody. So sometimes, their coworker or their boss or their best friend might be their best option. And again, you're gonna have to put the contact information of these people, including their address. So do warn folks who might be undocumented of these requirements. This document is also going to ask, child will be reunited with me wherever I am, if this is something the parent prefers. If the parent wants the child to be reunited with their child in the parent's country of origin, that is absolutely something that they can list. And then in order for these documents to have the fullest potential of strength possible is going to be either through notarization or through witnesses. Notarization might be the easiest way possible, as only the parents need to be present to notarize the document. The witnesses, you're going to want to find two witnesses who are over the age of 18 who are not a party to this case. So it wouldn't be the parents, it wouldn't be the third parent or the third party caregiver. So it would be anybody besides these people that must sign when the parent signs. These documents do not need to be filed with the court to have validity. They have validity simply by the fact that they exist and by the fact that they will be notarized or witnessed. In a situation where one parent might not be available during the notarization, they can sign later if that's possible with a notary present. Um, if only one parent is listed on the birth certificate, only that parent needs to sign. If another parent is not in the child's life, and they are not on the birth certificate, then they don't need to sign. There might be unique situations, such as if one parent is deceased, then the parent who is still with the child would just provide a certificate of death on behalf of the other parent to the form. In another situation where it might be that there's maybe a parenting plan against one parent, stating that they are not to have any contact with the child or with the parent, then again, that parent would supply a copy of the parenting plan stating the court's orders, that the parent is not to have any contact with the child. And that would be if that parent is listed on the birth certificate, because this is going to exclude that second parent from having to sign the forms. Another unique situation might be if one parent is out of the country and one parent is here in the US. What we recommend is that you can try to send a copy of the documents to that parent if you know their whereabouts, and try to get them to sign. And if you have no luck that route, um, create some sort of like a declaration, just like a written declaration that states what you tried, and whether you were successful or not, and then try to go around it that route. They might not always be valid without the other parent's signature if both parents are listed on the birth certificate, but you could try to take any precaution as best as you can to try to get around these circumstances. And now the next form that we help families fill out is the power of attorney. Now, the power of attorney is that document that transfers those parental rights to the third party caregiver. This does not mean that the parent is giving up their parental rights. It's simply putting them in the shoes of the parent temporarily. So it would give that third party caregiver the ability to make academic, medical, and travel decisions on behalf of the parent. Um, Please note that these are some steps that the third party caregiver can take now. Excuse me, that the parent can take now. They can add that third party caregiver to the school or daycare emergency list, which is highly recommended. And they should also be listed on the previous document on the intentions of parent. And they can be listed on any type of like medical provider list, such as like the dental office, orthodontist, things like that. Um, just because you sign these documents today or fill them out today does not mean that they start taking effect today. They will only start taking effect once the parent becomes unavailable. And they are valid for up to 24 months if necessary, and they are revocable, which means that at any time that the parent is able to be reunited with their child, then the document no longer has any validity. The parent can simply either shred the document, obviously notify the third party that their power of attorney has been terminated, or the parent can just like write across the form, stating that is no longer necessary. If for some reason the parent is absent for more than 24 months, they can renew the forms. And they can do that by either getting in contact again with an LCYC staff or anybody that can assist them with filling out the power of attorney. If the parent is every state has a different forms. So I would definitely advise parents to look at those states' requirements before filling out a Washington form, for example, if they're living in Oregon, because the forms might be different, and a Washington form might not be valid in Oregon. Again, same situation. This form has to be either notarized or witnessed. And if one parent is not available, then have them sign later if possible. Again, if there's a family law situation going on, provide proof of those orders, or a copy of the deceased parent's death certificate if that might apply to the parent. Okay, great. So the school and daycare emergency contact, this is something that the parent can do now to proactively prepare as best as they can. Every school and daycare is going to have their own policies and procedures and forms. So it's great to ask them what those forms are and what those procedures might be. Again, we recommend that you add that third-party caregiver to these forms in case the parent um, becomes absent or unavailable, and that third party caregiver needs to take care of the child. Um, Child immunization and medical records. First and foremost, make sure that these are up to date. Make sure that your child has all of the required vaccines. The parent, if you don't have a copy, you can request a record from either the school, the doctor, or the Washington Health Department. I am unaware whether there are costs associated with this, but I believe that there are none. And also note and let the third party caregiver know if your child has any sort of like special needs, such as if they see like an allergist, if they have orthodontists, any eye doctors, or any other special needs like therapy or whatever the situation might be. Make sure that that third party caregiver is aware of that, and also make sure that they are listed on those doctors as emergency contacts. Okay, great. The next is the birth certificate. These are critical, and we recommend that you get them if you don't have a copy of them. Um, Before requesting them, make sure that the spelling and the names are accurate and consistent to the best of your ability, because if the names are misspelled on the birth certificate and the passport and the social security, this could rise to a level um, of hardship for the parent and the third party caregiver. And it would make it difficult for the child to get a passport if their names are not are misspelled even by a letter. Um, Check to see if a mother and father are listed on these birth certificates. Again, if only one parent is listed, then only that parent needs to sign. Each state does have a different process for requesting a birth certificate, so make sure that you are requesting from the correct state where the child was born. If a child was born in a different country, you're going to have to work with the consulate of that country to request that birth certificate. And there are fees up to $40.50. And we do understand that these fees could accrue, especially if a parent has more than one child. And that's why we advise that you try to get them as soon as you can, just to try to accommodate as best as you can with the fees. A social security card. This is going to be a document that has a number on it um, that identifies an individual, and it typically only applies to U.S. citizens. And the parent is going to want to have the original of the social security number, but in the packet they can include copies. Again, this document is critical to prove the identity of the child. And when a parent requests a Social Security, they should not have to answer any questions as to the status of the parent. So make sure that the parent is aware that this is a question that they should not be answering. And if they are being asked this question, that this could be a fraudulent website, or it just might not be the place that they want to be. Again, there should be no fee associated with requesting a copy of the Social Security card. A passport. A passport is going to be critical if the parent wants the child to travel, especially if they want the child to be reunited with them in the parent's country of origin. It's going to be really difficult for them to try to travel without the passport. Especially if the child is a US citizen, we definitely recommend that you try to obtain that passport as soon as possible. Um, in that passport application, you're going to need the birth certificate and you're going to need the signature of both parents if they are both listed on the birth certificate. Again, you can try to provide an affidavit explaining why one of the signatures is missing. If one of the parents is refusing to sign, if the one of the parents' whereabouts is unknown. So definitely try to work on these sooner rather than later because it can take a while to get passports. Um, again, um, there are fees associated with obtaining a passport of around $105, and it could be more if you're requesting an expedited passport. Again, fees can accrue if there are multiple children. So try to get those as soon as possible. Um, and again, if a child was born in a different country, the parent is gonna have to work with that consulate to try to get that passport. Um, and it's going to be necessary to travel outside of the United States. So now you have this compilation of documents. What do we do with all of this paperwork? So we're going to want to make 3 copies of the documents. And the parent's going to find either a shoebox or a paper file, or anywhere where documents can be safely stored. And we're going to put all the originals in that original file, in the shoebox and in the folder, whatever. So we're going to put all the original copies here. That's the Social Security card, the birth certificate, the passport, etc. Um, if you can create an electronic copy, like a PDF, or just like some sort of version that you can like have electronically, that's definitely recommended. That way, the parent can easily just like email it to the third party caregiver or third party caregivers. I forgot to mention that there could be multiple caregivers. It doesn't just have to be one person, it could be multiple people. And preferably not on the parent's phone because if the parent is detained, they will lose access to their phones. So maybe like on a thumb drive or like a USB drive, that they can easily give to the third party caregiver. And again, so we have those copies of the intention of power and power of attorney. We're going to give the original to the third party caregiver. We're going to put a copy in the file, and we're going to put a copy in the child's backpack. That's if they are like young children of school age. If the child's a little bit older, maybe like 13, 14, then we can give them a copy to carry in their binder, or to have in their bedroom, anywhere that they are going to have easy access to it. And again, make sure that the third party caregiver or caregivers each have a copy of these documents. So, there are going to be tricky situations that arise when you're talking to parents, or even the caregivers. A tricky situation might be, do I need to notarize? Yes, if possible. Again, you can also have a witness. Please note that there are a lot of free notaries in the area who are notarizing these documents for free. You could find a lot of these notaries at the public library, at clinics. Just make sure that these people are not trying to charge a ton of money, or any money really, to notarize these forms. Another question again, does this transfer legal custody? No, this is not the parent is not revoking their rights. It's not going to transfer their legal custody rights. And again, it's revocable the minute the parent, shows up and is able to come back into the child's life. The validity of these documents terminate. For dual citizen children, if possible, you can get them passports from their home country, and from the other country where they might be a dual citizen. Again, this does take time, so make sure to start working on it sooner rather than later. If no third party caregiver is available, it's going to be really difficult then to have these forms filled out, as the main purpose is to have somebody besides the parents looking out for the child in case of absence. Um, and again, the whole purpose of these documents is to prevent the state and CPS from getting involved. Because once the state gets involved, it's really hard to know what they're going to do with the child's placement, any of that. So again, this whole process is to ensure that the state does not get involved. So what can you do now? Gather documents from the immigrant safety plan, spread the word, share it out to your contacts, encourage family members to share it out with their contacts. Um, Try to take care of yourself, and again, understand that everybody has constitutional rights, whether or not they are U.S. citizens. So try to protect yourselves. Try to again have a plan. It doesn't mean, we do this plan not to frighten people, but rather to give them a tool so that they can at least have something in place in case anything were to happen. Great. So that is the end of that training. If you have questions, please reach out to me. Thank you.